Okay, we
Yeah.
are live.
Oh my
Hey
gosh.
everyone,
Good morning.
good morning. So, we are here to discuss Fool's Errand, that is book 1 in Tony Man trilogy. Yeah,
Somewhere up there.
and this is third sub-series in Realm of Elderlings.
Yeah, you gotta show off those new books, Derri.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got to
you
smell
need.
them actually. Oh, they do smell good.
Yeah.
Okay, and joining me here are Pete from Ponderings of Pete and Derri, our Hobb queen, Hobb mother, Hobb expert, and Evie from She Was Only Evie. I'm only introducing them instead of letting you do it, but I mean, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
First of all, how dare you assume my name? I'm Ponderings of Night Eyes today.
Yeah, because he's
Um,
totally the brains of the operation.
yes, obviously. Um,
Ouch, Derri. Ouch.
Well, you know.
No.
yep. So, Ponderings of Pete. I am a booktuber like we all are. I talk
Yeah.
about fantasy, sci-fi things, and ponderings.
This is true. And I'm Derry, and I have read them before. And this is mostly what I talk about. Because it is. Yeah.
I am Evie. My channel is She Was Only Evie. I read a little bit of everything, a lot of bit of everything. So I'm excited. And I was very excited when Anita was like, hey, you want to join? I'm like, yes, please. So
And all three of the channels are in the description. Please go and subscribe to them. I mean, of course, if you're here, you're already subscribed to them.
that's assuming a lot,
Hopefully.
Anita. So
Okay. Before getting to anything, just tell me, what did you rate this book and why it's not 5 stars?
did people in this chat other than Derri not rate this 5 stars?
I am not sure. Derry did not rate it 5 stars.
Oh, I told it. If I could rate it 6, I would. This is my favourite of all of the books within Realm of the Elderlings. This is my favourite one.
I'm assuming that Derri would give like all of them 6 stars regardless. So that's why I was like, excluding Derri, who gave it less than 5 stars?
I mean, I theoretically gave it no stars because I don't give stars.
Listen.
Whatever standard.
I don't want to sound like Alan. But listen. Anyways.
Yeah.
I definitely gave it 5 stars. For me, it started like it was just so nice being back with Fitz because reading from his perspective is cathartic, and I love his depressed dumbass. So
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, if anyone is here, if you haven't read Realm of Elderlings, this is third sub-series in the whole series. So, though there are initial thoughts are non-spoilery for this book, there will be spoilers for first series. So, I suggest you leave. Thank you for joining. So, non-spoiler thoughts.
sorry. I'll let somebody else talk while I gather my thoughts.
Yeah, go Pete.
Gather my thoughts as I talk. What Emily reads in the chat said is like really accurate. Like those first 152 pages were amazing, and it felt like coming home. I feel like my thoughts are still roiling from this book because just moving around. I really, really like this book, and it was really relaxing to read, despite some of the things that were in it. And being with these characters again, Live Ship was amazing, but this book is definitely a book where Hobb monopolizes. Is that the right word? She really accentuates. Nope. She just utilizes probably the best word. Utilizes this feeling of coming home really well with this book, and it was just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that first 200 pages is the reason why this is my favourite of all of them, because it just feels like a giant hug from an old friend. you spend that 200 pages just being with Fitz and just being with Night Eyes and just hanging out. And there are people who, after reading Farseer, say, "Oh, I could, just stay with Fitz all day while he did his laundry." The first 200 pages of Fool's Errand is pretty much that. He's doing house maintenance and garden chores and just day-to-day stuff. And it's just the most wonderful sensation of coming home, of going to an old friend's house and just immediately falling back into comfortable patterns. And it's just the best. And just, oh, my heart. I love the whole book. It is just a warm hug. It's such a great book. Such a great book.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was so great coming back to Fitz's perspective. And I mean, I had a very, very much a very quality conversation going on with this book. And the first 200 pages were very slow. But like you said, Derri, it was just nice. It's like you're being reacquainted with an old friend. And I think if Robin Hobb hadn't had those 200 not very slow, but slower paced pages, it wouldn't have felt the same. It just wouldn't have had the same impact overall as a book, I think, at least for me.
Yeah. That is what makes it stand out for me. What about you, Anita?
Actually, Bridget put it nicely in the chat in Discord. She said, "Anita, I was thinking this is what you need, after what happened with life shifts," and that's exactly true. I mean, you all know, at least Derri, you know how I felt about
Yes.
Assassin's Apprentice and Assassin's Quest. How I was very nostalgic. I mean, I loved the world. I loved Fizz, and I loved Hobb's writing, and I felt very close to this story. And that's exactly how I felt reading Fool's Errand. It's
Yeah.
so good. It's so good. Coming back, I needed this healing actually. That
Yeah.
first 200, 250 pages helped a lot. Though, actually, technically speaking, nothing happens, but I did not
Ah,
feel bored. I did not even a single page, single dialogue. I did not feel bored. I mean, it was just, balm to my soul.
yes, it is. And because it is that moment of calm before a storm. I mean, it's Fitz, things are going to start going pear shaped, but it's just this moment where you get to sort of take a deep breath and go, right, okay, go.
Yeah, I agree with Matt.
Oh,
Actually, yeah, I could have stayed with Fitz at the cabin forever. That's what Night Eyes also wanted.
yeah. Again, brains of the operation, he knew where it was at.
Okay, now it's time to let's move on to spoilers.
So I will add before we get into spoilers.
Yeah.
Not only do we reconnect with Fitz, but the way Robin Hobb over those first 200 or so pages reintroduces us to the full Night Eyes
Shade.
Crap, what's her name?
Starling.
Yes, there you go, Starling. I really, again, it felt like not only being reacquainted with an old friend with Fitz, but just being reintroduced and reacquainted with old friends in those characters. I know, hot take for Starling, but I actually like Starling. So
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, of course, she's not exactly a morally positive character.
yeah,
But I don't hate her. I don't dislike her. It's all right.
I
I mean, some people are like that. That's. I mean, yeah.
Some of the things that she says to Hap and to Fitz are incredibly, well, they're really, really hurtful, and they're deliberately hurtful, but done in a flippant way. And she lost me completely at that point because she's a minstrel. She uses words. She knows what she's doing when she uses words like that. So, no, I was out. I was like, no, sorry, honey. You don't get to treat my people like that. So,
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, there you can say a lot of things in when you're so angry and feel
Oh
so
yeah,
hurt that you don't even it's like you have a blackout moment and like I'm just gonna say the
yeah,
thing that is
lash
the worst
out.
thing to say.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's what
Mhm.
she's doing. That doesn't make it right or wrong.
Yeah,
Well, doesn't make
yeah,
it right, but yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Chadia, that was actually bad. That scene actually I disliked. But
mm,
at the same time, I understand why she did that. She doesn't want what she had with
yeah.
Fitz to go bad. I mean, we don't know her background, where she's coming from. She's using Fitz as to escape from her routine, life. Whatever her intentions are, what she did was bad. At the same time, I don't hate her.
I always saw it as it was her attaching herself to the story she couldn't tell. Um, she was a minstrel, and so she did know who Fitz
Mhm.
really is, and that's kind of a um, she just wants to be in his sphere to know that she's part of his story, and that's quite a selfish reason to my mind of why she's in his life. She doesn't care for him as him; she cares for him because of who he could have been, and that just rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
No, you have to love him for him. All of his idiocy, all of his ridiculous choices. This is why we love him. So, you know,
Paramita, I mean, after life shifts, I needed that long
yeah.
prologue actually to heal and to get back into this. So I'm completely okay with long prologue.
And in world time, it's been a long time. It's been 15 years. So there's stuff to catch up on and to give you that sense of time that's gone by. So I think
Uh,
it's my
to add
favorite. I'm biased. So, you know,
to add to Emily's point here, Emily, I agree with you about that. Actually, yes, people don't like women's
mm,
ambition. That part, that's why I don't dislike Starling. But the way she treated Hap, the way she treated Fizz, that that was questionable. That is
mm,
not actually. I don't agree with that. At least that is not with respect to ambition.
yeah.
Yeah, it definitely felt like she was like what you were saying, Darius. She wants to know Fitz, to know him as the changer, to know him as like the things I don't doubt she has a sixth sense for something with the going on with the prophecy, because like she latched herself onto Fitz in a way that's just like, what else do you think he's going to do? But she like instinctively know there's going to
Mm,
be more with him and more to his story. And I think there's, at the very least, there might be something self-esteem wise going on, like dealing with her own self-esteem of like, hi, I know this important person. And
yeah.
Uh, to Bridget, I'm not sure. Actually, I thought she's coming back to Fizz to escape from her life, to have a like kind of vacation. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
I think she likes her life. I think she has what she never thought she would. I mean, she never ever thought she would get married. She
mhm.
she genuinely believed she would be alone her whole life, and she's got this rather fabulous young husband. And I think she likes her life. I genuinely think, as Pete does, that she's just kind of there in case something else happens around Fitz. That she still has that connection. And Shade, of course, is going to completely back this and be like, yes, because that gives us the connection to Fitz, that we can send him things and he can send us things, and we don't have to force him to come back to the castle. So it works for the castle for them to have this person who visits. Um, so it was just allowed to continue for as long as it did. So then it was time to change, and everything sort of got stirred up again.
So yeah, Night Eyes agrees with you too, Channing.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts before moving on to spoilers?
No, I think that's it. Before spoilers.
I think not exactly technically spoilers. I want to ask you about what did you feel about Jade coming to visit him, but even that I want to put it in spoilers.
Yeah, because it branches very quickly into all sorts of things.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it opens with that the first sentence is literally, he came to my door and brought the world with him. And that's what it is. Fitz has hidden himself away from the world for 15 years. He's sort of slid under the radar and just been quiet. Shade coming to his door is the world basically saying, yeah, time to shake things up again. Come on. And so there's this sense of impending doom that Shade's come to visit. Like, oh my God, what's happened? Something terrible has happened, that Fitz has to come out of retirement. And yeah, Shade visiting was both great because yay, excitement and news from Buckkeep, and a little bit scary because, oh no, it means things are going to go wrong.
I think there's a good parallel between this and the opening chapter of The Hobbit as well. Because you have the I want to stay home and just rest part of Night Eyes, who is the sensible hobbit.
Yes, let's just stay here and eat ginger cakes.
Yeah, and just sit here with our tea and everything. It's fine. We don't need to go anywhere. And then there's that adventurous side of Bilbo. It's like, okay, I'm going to entertain 13 dwarves, aka Shade and Starling.
I just want to add to Emily's point here. Emily, I understand what you're saying. That's why I'm excusing Starling too. I mean, as much as I love Fitz, I understand that not everyone likes Fitz, even in the book. That's one of the reasons I understand why Molly left Fizz. It's all right. I mean, Fizz is giving more priority to the Farsir family and the throne. It, there is nothing wrong with for Molly to choose her own life.
Hell yeah!
It's completely okay. I don't understand all Molly hate also.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you.
Look, little Miss Molly apologist.
No. I don't understand the hate against Molly either. So I'm glad that there's somebody else.
Yeah, she thinks Fitz is dead. Like, I don't understand why you would hate her for going to Burke, who admittedly is a very attractive man.
No,
Exactly.
I mean, even
jealous.
before,
That's my problem.
Even before sorry if I'm interrupting, Derri. Even before the Assassin's Quest, at the end of Royal Assassin, when Molly left Fizz, when she left the palace, I know people hated. I mean, not exactly in this Discord. I have seen
I
in
love her
multiple
for that
Discords
decision. That's the best
who
thing she could have
said
done.
they hate Molly. So I don't understand. If Fitz himself agrees that maybe I wouldn't have chosen her, maybe I would have given more priority to the throne. He himself says that. Even then, why does people expect her to stay with him? What is wrong with choosing her, choosing herself? What is wrong with giving priority to her own life?
I don't think I've ever encountered anybody who suggested that she stays. I think anyone who's ever complained about that scenario has been like, he's just an idiot. He should have gone. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that conflict between Fitz as a person wanting to be with Molly and Fitz as a Farseer needing to support the crown. And my problem with Molly is that she's not good enough for Fitz, and she's certainly not good enough for Burke. So that's just
I mean,
my 2 cents.
I haven't seen that yet so far, so for now I'll keep quiet.
So yes, my favourite thing though wasn't so much Shade visiting, but when Fool arrives, because he arrives in such a state of glory. He's come to show off to his best friend. He's come to sort of show him and go, look at the adventures I've been having, because he shows up in this glorious finery and on this exquisite horse that he has called Malta, which is just so brilliant. It's a squee moment for me every time I read it. And he just sort of brings life and energy with him, where Shade brings doom and dread, But when Fool arrives, you almost feel both Fitz and Night Eyes gain energy. They're like, yes, Night Eyes goes all puppyish and it's like, it's our friend. And I've got shivers actually just thinking about the scene. It's so wonderful when they arrive. It just, I love it. Oh,
Did anybody else have any accidental like what is it, Freudian slips when Malta was on the page, where like they say something about Malta and you think it's the girl instead of the horse for a hot second, and then you're like, oh wait, no, this is
yes,
horse.
willful and spirited, and yes.
I had that problem with Fool actually. Every time they talk, I mean, when Fool entered the cabin, when they came to meet Fizz, every time I was thinking him as Amber, I was thinking him as girl. It's like okay, anytime Fizz will realize, anytime Fool will tell, okay, it's coming. Like I'm looking at the door, okay, it's about to open. I mean I cannot forget. I mean it took me almost entire book, almost um, three quarters to the book, okay, to make peace with the fact that okay, for now he's a guy.
I think at this point, Fool has shown you a male face and he's shown you a female face, but in both faces, that Fool is saying to people, "I'm choosing which face to show you." At no point does Fool ever go, "This is my real face." He's saying, they're saying, "This is one of my faces." So there's there's a
There's a
there's
fluidity.
an androgyny, a balance to me for the Fool.
Yeah,
I think,
there's definitely a fluidity in identity going on.
yeah,
That is really good. Addition to the thematic elements of identity throughout the entire series so far. So, just an added layer.
I just love them.
I did like Chatty's comment about the Jenna. I really liked being introduced to Jenna. She's fascinating.
Yeah.
I liked that she saw Fitz
But
of the now. Like she was like, yes, I like this person that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And saw him for what he currently is. Or at least the part of him he's showing the world. Because, a bit like the Fool, Fitz decides which facet of himself he's going to show the world. And at the moment, he's Tom Badgerlock. So, and apparently he's quite a nice bloke. So, yay for
no,
Tom.
the way Hobb introduced Gina, I thought I imagined her as an old woman. Later, when we said she looks like 35, I was like, I was imagining a 75-year-old woman.
I, I was imagining somebody about my age, where she was clearly old enough to perhaps have a grown up child, but slightly past her prime, but not old, because she was clearly still hale and hearty. She still would do big long journeys on her own. So there was obviously a sturdiness to her character, and I liked that.
Okay, before moving on to the characters you want or you're expecting, what do you think about Hap and his relationship with Fitz and theories about his future?
I really hope to see a bit of a contrast in the future between Hap and Dutiful. Like, I really hope Hap sticks around in the next few books. I think you and I and Ethan are the only ones that haven't read the I think we're half and half here. But I really like the things that how Hobb used Hap to teach Fitz about Dutiful in tiny ways, just to prepare him, and I think that was really nicely set up.
I think Hap is a good kind of not foil, but just a reminder of Burrick and Fitz's relationship, where Fitz is taking on Burrick's role now, completely willingly. This time, well, was it really willingly? He's kind of brought in to help, but
I think there was a bit of consent there of like, yeah, I'll do this.
Yeah. So, that dynamic is just at play again. And kind of seeing that not necessarily intergenerational, because obviously there's no blood relation, but it's just the juxtaposition between those two relationships and how Fitz has learned from Burrick to be able to pass down to Hap. Um, it's interesting to see, and that's something that I was definitely intrigued by when I read Fool's Errand.
Initially, when they were living in cabin, I really liked Hab, how close he was with Fizz, and how much he loves Fizz, how much he cares about Fizz. But after coming to town, he behaves exactly like a teenager, at least according to Gina's whatever she reported back to Fizz. So so I'm expecting something there in future books. I think he'll play a role even in court politics. At I don't know. I'm expecting there. I mean, the I Dutiful's bride is too young, and Nettle is far away. But I am expecting some kind of love triangle or something there.
For me, Hap is Hobb playing with with Fool's sense of time, where Fool has been talking that everything just keeps doing the same thing. Everything cycles in the same track and happens just over and over again until people make different choices. And so we get Burrick as a father figure to Fitz, not his son, um, trying to do his best for his son and then struggling as Fitz has got older. And now we're seeing that with Fitz taking on Hap as the father figure for a boy who's not his son, trying to do his best for him. And as Hap's getting older, realizing he doesn't really have the tools he needs to help Hap take the next step in his journey. And how do I deal with teenage acting out and that kind of carry on? So that reflection of the relationships is masterfully done, because blood or not, you learn from the people around you. And so you learn their mannerisms and you learn their ways of making decisions and you learn their reactions to things. So growing up with Fitz, he's learned a lot of the same behavior. So for Fitz now to have to deal with that same behavior that he did as a child is just, it's almost comedy to watch. Because you're like, you did the same thing, Fitz. You did the same thing, and you're doing what we all do, going, oh my God, I sound like my mother. Because Fitz is now going, oh my God, I sound like Burrick. Because they're the same. So,
What do you all think about, Chade's relationship with the Dutiful in parallel with Chade's relationship with Fitz?
Well, I think Shade is. Well, so Dutiful is obviously much more in the forefront, whereas Fitz was he was in the background, kind of in uh, like a limbo. He wasn't able to be. He was acknowledged, but he wasn't in the the court and stuff like that. Whereas Dutiful he is obviously the heir to the throne, and Shade has his position has also changed. He's become literally more visible in the court. So there's um there's that aspect that has changed and shifted from his relationship with Shade's relationship with Fitz, but also like he has Ketrican to deal with. Like I feel like Ketrican is like a good, not a stopgap. What's the word I'm thinking of? A good barrier. Like Shade doesn't have full control over Dutiful. He has to deal with you know Ketrican as not only the queen but also Dutiful's mother, whereas Fitz really didn't have that um, with anyone. He didn't. Yes, Burrick was a parental figure, but Shade superseded Burrick's position because of obviously who he
yeah.
was and where he was at and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
Okay, that's really nice way to put it, actually. But as long as I understand, Jade loves Fitz. It came across like, maybe because of always Jade's loyalty is first with the throne, Farsi throne and Farsi family. So it came across as he wants dutiful survival more important than Fitz survival.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean
He-
it's all about the throne and the future of the six duchies, and Fitz is just a means to an end to protect Dutiful. So if Dutiful wasn't there, then Fitz would have been the potential heir because he was like the last resort or whatever. But now that we have Dutiful, he be he becomes like second in line in importance to Shade. So he will utilize Fitz even more, not for just his own ends, but Dutiful's ends, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Also, I think Chade looked at Fizz as himself because both are bastards. So all Chade always trying Fizz to replace him, never more than that.
Mhm.
I can definitely see that.
Whereas he definitely sees Dutiful as like the new chivalry,
Yeah,
the one to raise up above everybody else. I really liked, speaking of replacing Chade, the very end where Chade was like, "Well, now it's time for me to report to you." Like
Yeah,
that was a nice kind of like closing on the apprentice story in literally the same book, like
I did
the
enjoy. Yeah,
first book of the trilogy to first book of the trilogy.
I enjoyed Shade's joy that you just palpably felt that he was
Yeah.
like, "Yes, this is what I wanted." For me, though, the difference between Shade's relationship with Fitz and Shade's relationship with Dutiful is Fitz was always expendable.
Mhm.
yeah,
Dutiful isn't, and so his the basis of his relationship is fundamentally different. Fitz was always available to be in use for the crown. Dutiful is not, and so right off the bat, the mindset is different.
Mhm.
So you see the difference in the way that they interact, but also that Shade misses that. He misses Fitz as a person, and that forgives a lot from Shade for me because he clearly cares for Fitz,
yeah,
even though he still sees him to some degree as expendable because he believes he's expendable. Push comes to shove, I die before Dutiful,
yeah.
and that comes across. So it's an interesting relationship to watch.
And more to the generational repeat thing, it feels as if Fitz is taking up Burke's role with chivalry and dutiful.
Yeah, being a
I
very just real life bloke. I need to. This is what blokes do, and
Mhm.
it's quite a charming scene where we get Fitz shaving and Dutiful like, wow, I've never actually seen a man shave because he's so isolated without just normal everyday behavior around him of a man to show him these things. And I just loved that as an insight to Dutiful. So
I think I always saw Fizz as, I mean, Fizz taking as Barrick's role for Hap, but Chade's role for Dutiful. I mean, I could be wrong.
I think very deliberately Fitz is trying to be to Dutiful what Verity was to him. In I'm not a parent, I'm not a parent, but I am an adult male in your sphere that I'm going to try and be somebody you can respect as a man, because that's what Verity was for Fitz. And that just showed him a different way to be an adult man from Burke. Whereas at the moment, Dutiful has Shade, so Fitz is offering the reverse to that. This court, kind of fancily dressed old man, you know, to somebody relatively young, hale and hearty. And I just it's Hobb. I mean, the interconnected nature of all of the relationships just make it really poignant. You know what's missing in everybody's lives and how they all try and fill those gaps for each other. It's remarkable.
Do you think Fizz should try and be more like Verity to? I mean, yes, he is like Verity to Dutiful, but Verity was always, you know, um, what do you say, warm towards Fizz
Mm.
actually. But Fitz isn't warm towards Dutiful. He's like kind of very strict disciplinary person. But Dutiful needs someone in his corner. He needs someone to hug him, I mean, I am there to say I'm there for you more than a counselor.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Fitz is he has he has the potential of being that for Dutiful, but he's getting in his own way
Oh,
with the
yes.
knowledge of Dutiful. Well, he's always his own way, let's be honest, with everything and
Yeah.
anyone. Um, but with Dutiful, I think in particular, Fitz knowing how Dutiful was conceived, he wants to keep that kind of line between them and that wall between them and doesn't want to cross into any sort of intimacy in, like a more, fatherly way because he knows there's a gray area of their relationship and regarding um Dutiful's parentage and stuff like that.
Mm.
There's a lot of gray area there. So I think there's just a hesitancy. He doesn't want to cross a line that he can't come back from.
Hmm.
When I read Assassin's Quest, that scene, you all know what is that scene. I understand what exactly happened in the story point of view, but I never considered Fizz being involved as Dutiful's father until this book.
Mm.
When Fizz thought for the first time, my daughter and my son, I have two kids. I was like, no, he's not your son. That immediately that's when the thought came. Yeah, whatever the magic was, however the magic system worked biologically, it is his son. Until this
Yeah.
book, I completely missed that point.
But that was the point. It was supposed to do that. That Verity was so present at the conception that Fitz wasn't there, except his body was. So
Yeah.
that realization when you come into Fool's Errand is kind of the shock on Fitz's part too. Like he's known that that's what's happened, but he's never had to actually look at that and go, "Oh, that actually means." Mm. And you get, as Evie's saying, that okay, now he's not sure where the boundary is, and so he's just not even going to get close to wherever that boundary is. He's like, I don't know where the line is, so I'm just going to stay way over here because I'm uncomfortable with this.
Shameless plug over on Derri's channel. We have a discussion
I,
discussing that particular scene.
I know.
So
I wanted to see that so much, but I did not watch the first two videos. Also, I want to start from the beginning.
Yeah,
I need to find the time for binge
that's
watching
fine.
all those.
That's fine. But are you all right, Pete?
Yeah, no, I'm
did you
alone in
switch
the
into
house.
your sweatpants?
No. The dog needs to go outside.
No, okay.
There's a dog.
It's my roommate's dog.
Oh, did I forget about this? Did I forget
Probably.
about this news?
I don't mention him that much.
Fair
He's
enough.
a
How
rat terrier.
dare you?
He's not a cuddly thing that likes to get up on things. And he
It doesn't matter. He's a dog.
he's blind and he runs into things. That's
He's a
entertaining to
good
be
boy.
honest.
But that's even
Okay, he's
better.
a good boy.
Unless
Speaking
he's
of
not.
good boys, Night Eyes.
Oh,
Yes, Night Eyes.
Before
get
moving
some
on, before moving on to that, I want to mention one
sorry
last
for
point.
derailing.
It's okay. I just wanted to ask one last thing. Almost I remember at least twice mm, the discussion between Fizz and Fool about how many people know the true parentage of Dutiful. Fool asked him twice, and Fizz tells that no, Starling doesn't know she slept that night. The
Yeah.
way the discussion happened twice, so I am thinking if it is the way of Hobb foreshadowing, Hobb telling us something that somebody else or Starling knows this. You both can't say, Pete, you.
It's like,
Hmm.
"Mm."
I think that Starling is probably the person who's going to pick up on it if she comes back into the picture and is like, "Hey, I'm
Really?
sorry I said those things." I think Starling is prone to possible conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Do you think Chade knows or he doubts?
Well, I
I
mean,
don't.
regardless, like Fitz is biologically related to Verity, so I
And did look
yeah,
enough like his father to have a familial resemblance regardless.
yeah.
So
Everyone in chat, Derri and Evie finished Tournamentrology. They cannot talk about this theory. So
over.
if you haven't read Beyond Fool's Errand, please let me know your theories in the chat.
Cool.
Okay, now let's move on to characters we're all waiting for.
Rip off the band-aid with Night Eyes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
let's
Wait,
do
let me
it.
let the dog back in. I'll be right back.
I'm not going to cry on camera. Yeah.
Um, should we jump to the devastating part at the end of Fool's
However
Errand?
you want, TV. However you
Okay.
want, it's okay.
I what crap? What chapter was it? Whatever
20.
chapter it was where Night Eyes dies, I had not cried since chapter 26.
Yeah.
I had not cried so hard since Assassin's Apprentice until and I knew it was coming because not only at the very beginning of Fool's Errand, Night Eyes is talking about how he's old and he's got arthritis and he's stiff to walk. But I also made the mistake of looking at a Discord message and they forgot to spoiler tag something, and it wasn't really a spoiler, but there was an implication, and just the way that she wrote that, it's even knowing it being heavily foreshadowed and knowing what I knew, I still bawled, and I'm like, no. I remember sending Boxer messages to you guys, just bawling, be like, he's gone, guys, he's gone. Oh God, freaking Night Eyes.
I know. It still gets me. I'm not 20. I've put myself through this more than 20 times, and I cry now entire chapters in advance because I know that it's coming, and it doesn't get easier. And I will go through so many hankies toward the end of Fool's Errand. Like ugly crying
Yeah,
because he's gone. But as you said, Hobb did it really beautifully. Like she showed you that he was a really old wolf, that he was really struggling and he'd accepted his own fate. And he'd got angry with Fitz for feeling like he had to put it off. It's like, no, if it's my time, it's my time. And you don't get to change that.
well,
And
he's so Night Eyes is not only old for a wolf, but he's unnaturally old because Fitz puts more life
yeah,
into him to keep him alive,
yeah. And
and
he was really angry with that.
yeah,
And
Fitz,
and this is why I'm saying he's throughout the book, he's saying to Fitz, I'm ready. I've lived my life. I'm ready. So when the time came, and it was written so beautifully, I mean, so beautifully
You
that,
know. Okay, go
oh,
ahead. Derek. Go ahead, Derek.
it's it's a beautiful farewell. It's not. He doesn't go in a traumatic way.
yeah,
It's beautiful,
yeah,
and that almost makes it harder because there's nothing to rage against.
yeah.
Like that bastard killed him, or this happened to him, and I'm angry about it. It's like no, he went to sleep.
You're tired. I'm so tired that rest won't ease me. only the hunt. And you know, Fitz wants to, oh, just give me a little bit longer, and Night Eyes is like,
I'm
follow
not
me
doing
where
you.
you will. Time to change, changer. I've always had to run ahead of you and show you the way.
Oh my god,
I
that line.
lost it. Lost it even more at that point. By the
Yep.
way, for anyone that has a dog that likes to cuddle, be thankful. I tried cuddling my dog after this scene. He does
Wasn't
not
having
like
it.
to cuddle and was very, very anti, like, yeah. So
I am not that familiar with the lifetime of different animals, so I did not consider Night Eye's death at all until I start this book.
Yeah.
I by default I assume that Night Eyes will be there along with Fizz until the last series. So when the beginning of this book, when we when Hobb, I mean when Night Eyes talks about how old he's ready to retire, that's when it hit me, the possibility of it.
Yeah.
And and there was a lot of foreshadowing that where Night Eyes wants to go back to the cabin and die peacefully there. Even then, the pain wasn't, the grief was not any less, though I prepared myself for it. But Hobb executed that so beautiful, very very well done. It's like, you know when I mean, I don't want to say it. I'm sorry if you anyone recently lose your grandparents, but it's something like our grandparents are so I mean they're old, they're ready to you know
Hmm.
um,
They've let go and they're
go,
ready. Hmm.
and it hurts us, but we have some kind of peace with that.
yeah,
They had their life,
yeah,
they lived their
Mm.
life, they spent time with their children, grandchildren, and
That's
we
right.
all know that's the ending for them. It's
Yeah.
something like that. I really like the way Hobb executed. She did not break my heart the way she did in live shows.
Yeah.
I really appreciated Hobb for that.
Yeah.
But more than that, actually, Naita is even before that, before even his death. I think this book, entire Fizz's journey, belongs to Night Eyes. Throughout this book, she reminds Fizz what is important, what values he needs to hold on to, what priorities he should, you know, give to. That was really well done. I really loved it. Twice I observed. I mean, it happened more than twice, but twice I noted it down when Fizz was torturing that kid,
Mhm.
wicked kid for the information about beautiful. I mean, Night Eyes was the one who pulled him back, who
Yeah.
told him not to lose himself.
Yeah.
That was beautifully done. At the same time, Night Eyes is the one who reminds him about priorities in life. That was also very, this book for me, it belongs to Night Eyes.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
beautiful homage to him.
Yeah. Yeah. The relationship that they had was really, I think, cleverly done, and that it doesn't draw attention to itself, but it's there as opposition to what the party of old bloods, sorry, not old bloods, the piebalds are doing, who are sort of embracing the fear that the people hold of witted folk, whereas Fitz and Night Eyes have kept that part of themselves hidden for so very long. And the moment that Fitz starts to behave in the way that people think witted people behave, with this savagery and this bestiality, it's the fact that he is witted that pulls him back. It's his bond with his animal that brings him back from the savagery and reminds him of his duty as a person not to do that. So there's this really gentle kind of reminder that the piebalds are doing this wrong. This is where you draw your strength from your bond partner in remembering the connections that you have with people, and that you're part of a community, that you're part of a world. And I just thought that was really subtly done and really cleverly juxtaposed because it's so subtle. So
Yeah, sorry. While you guys were talking, I was rereading the last paragraph of chapter 26 and I just freaking lost it again.
mm,
Yeah.
It's okay. We all understand. I was ready to lose it while talking about it. I mean, it was so hard to control it. It's like
yeah.
I was pinching myself, on my.
No,
It's like,
it's
dude,
not the first
yeah,
time
don't
we've
think
cried
about
on
it. Don't
camera.
think about it. But no, like it's
Uh,
so what Night Eyes uh to echo what you said, Anitha, Night Eyes is really the rock of Fitz, like of his identity and his personality. Like you said, Derri, he is the brains, the wisdom, and even Fitz acknowledges that in right after Night Eyes passes, he's talking about or he's reflecting on Fool's sympathy and acknowledges that, as Lord Golden, he could say little to him. Um, the loss of Night Eyes' companionship was cutting enough, but with him had gone my access to his keener senses. Sound seemed muted, and night darker, scent and taste dulled. It was as if the world had been robbed of its brightness. He had left me behind to dwell alone in a dimmed and stale place. And not to give any, not to spoil anything for the other books, but you, even though Night Eyes is gone at the end of Fool's Errand, he's something that I very much appreciate and I love about Robin Hobb is that Night Eyes is not gone from the series, like the
Yeah.
trilogy. He's like the things that Fitz learns from Night Eyes continues on and informs his character.
well, in the same way that, my mum's been gone for almost 20 years, but there are times when I'll do something and my mum is in my head going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I still hear her. She's still there. And so, yeah, it's Night Eyes remains
you know
present.
Actually, that's
It's
true.
still
I mean,
present.
we can relate to that, all of us, actually. I mean, I'm reading Sons of Darkness. If you I'm not sure if you heard about the book. That is not exactly retelling, but the characters and setting are from Indian epic tale Mahabharata. Okay, Mahabharata is something, those characters I grew up with. My grandmother used to tell me everyday stories from that, feeding me and all. So while reading that book, while reading those characters, all I was hearing was my grandmother telling me those stories. You know, that was, I mean, I can totally relate to that.
Mm, yeah. So that's, mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this entire book is punctuated by Night Eye's death to drive home this overarching theme of reconciling and letting go of your past. Because there's so many tiny things throughout this book, whether it's the torture of the child, the oh my gosh, torturing the kid, dutiful learning, teaching, being asked to teach dutiful the skill, being asked to stay on, being asked to come back to the castle, that are things that Fitz never resolved within himself, that he simply ignored, and
Yeah.
he
And
put them
it's time
aside.
to change.
hmm It's
Because
time
Fitz
to, and even this is echoed in the prophecy of where the world is set to repeat everything as it spirals into decay, but the changer is supposed to be able to change that and help set the world on a better path. Well, first he has to set himself on a better path
Yeah.
that isn't a repetition of everything that came before, that he isn't just echoing his trauma onto other people.
Yep.
And
And you
Night
see
Eyes,
the trouble he's having with that. Yeah, he's, yeah. he is really struggling. So
So to kind of go on a little bit of an aside slash tangent, but I really like how Fitz's and Night Eyes' relationship is a complete juxtaposition of what the piebald relationships are.
yeah,
They are animal. So the piebalds are animalistic in the, I guess, more traditional stereotypical sense, where there's this base animalistic mentality, whereas
yeah,
Night Eyes and Fitz, by extension, like Night Eyes, he's very wise, but I mean that's also because he takes on more like
yeah,
humanistic qualities.
humanity.
But even before that, like Night Eyes was never cruel. He
No,
he lived in the moment and only took as much as he needed, to survive and to live. But he was never cruel, never 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 mean.
no,
And whereas the piebalds were that, and like you said, Derri, pulling Fitz back from becoming a
yeah.
piebald.
I think it has a lot to do, and it's something I'm a firm believer of, is the time that Fitz and Night Eye spent as one entity between the end of Royal Assassin and the beginnings of Assassin's Quest gave them a bond that was unique, even among Old Blood, because they spent so much time as one entity. And it was probably only a few days, but in Wolf time, a lot happened. But the way I said it the other day was you can mix water and orange juice to put it in one container. But if you pour it back into two containers, they both now contain water and orange juice. And I very much believe that that's what happened when Fitz was brought back into his body. It wasn't that just Fitz came. The entity that was Fitz and Night Eyes now lived in two bodies. And the wolfness, humanness, it didn't matter. They were one. So losing Night Eyes was literally losing half of himself. But he retains half of Night Eyes.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the humanity of Night Eyes and the um, immediacy of a lot of Fitz's thinking comes from that, I think. And it's what makes Fitz act somewhat out of sync with a lot of the world. I mean, yes, I can call him an idiot as much as I like, but it's that immediacy that often drives his thought process. And I firmly believe it's because of that time they spent bonded so closely, there were no boundaries between them.
so I would actually counter that and add that not because of their close bond, but the going back to Assassin's Quest, after they were so closely bonded, they were the same entity for a period of time. They were physically separated after that, and they had to relearn how to survive on their own individually. And them coming back together um willingly and on like consciously, I guess, coming back together and realizing, yeah, I'm choosing this relationship together to
Yeah.
be with you and to have this connection, adds even more weight to Fool's Errand. And um, not only Night Eyes' readiness to depart from the world, but also the actual like separation and how he says goodbye to Fitz
Mm.
and how Fitz deals with that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Any final thoughts on Night Eyes before we move on to from it completely? I mean, only in chat, only with in the, I mean, during this talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, just figured we rip the Band-Aid off first.
Yeah, get that out of the way.
Get the
So
big one out of here.
Yeah.
I want to keep whole full feathers and the other white prophet to the end. Before moving on to that, do you want to add anything?
Mhm.
Uh, sorry, I was reading
It's okay.
Jadia's thing. No, so one thing that I was interested about, and I was curious when I curious to see is how the Piebalds would, like, were they just there for this book, or was there going to be like a, like, were they going to continue? Because I didn't read Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince. I know you did, Anitha. Pete, did you read Willful Princess and the Piebald
Yes,
Prince?
he did.
Okay, yeah. So I wonder how that would have impacted my reading of Fool's Errand. I know it technically doesn't have any impact; it just has
Actually,
like
I
context.
I'm
But
really glad actually. At least in Greg's Discord, everyone who read along with us, everyone is glad we read Bible and Bible Prince before this Fool's Errand. Thanks, Derri, for the suggestion, because we really appreciate why these people. I mean, we understand why these people hate. So much. We understand the background where they are coming from. I
Mm.
really appreciated that. I think you should read it too.
oh, good. Okay, all right,
It
Emily.
doesn't. It doesn't spoil anything. If you're worried
Yeah, yeah.
about that, it doesn't talk about any character in the mainstream now.
No,
It
Yeah,
it's
I
so
know it.
far
And
in the
I know it
past
takes
that,
place
yeah,
like a
a couple
couple
hundred years
hundred
ago.
years before.
300 years back or so.
Yeah. So
And
I mean, that's the thing, is it just gives a perspective on it, so you can go, oh, okay, I see where that's coming from. But yeah, it's certainly not essential. I read the series plenty of times before Wilful Princess was even written, so it's certainly not essential. But I did the Piebalds as a story concept, the idea that this community of people would branch into two such different mindsets is, to my mind, something that would happen. So I liked looking at that exploration of what that would do to that community and how it's playing out in Fool's Errand. I think is, it's a logical outcome of that.
Yeah.
So
And I hope to see more of the old blood essentially throughout these series. Like I'd like to see Dutiful like working to improve public relations with the old bloods and be like, hey, no. These guys can
yeah,
help. Like honestly, like I look at this series and trying to think about where it's gonna go. I definitely think the Red Ship Raiders, knowing what you've said, Derri, about how this is supposed to be the original conclusion of the series,
mm,
I can't help but think that that conclusion is probably going to involve the Red Ship Raiders specifically. But I do hope that in the end that there can be some sort of reconciliation with the old bloods of them, maybe, that a helping of people and a realization of no, it's not just old bloods and normies or whatever. It's
mm,
people of the six. We are all people of the six duchies and need to come against this threat that we have, or something like that. If the Red Ship Raiders indeed are the antagonists or whatever, but with some, we need an antagonist to bring everybody together. Come on, Chalced, you're up for
that
up for bat,
other
right?
white prophet is the antagonist. I decided. I started calling that anti-white prophet, black prophet.
it's
I don't know if that sounds the best, Anitha. I'll be honest.
I
and
mean,
a little
okay,
on the nose for Hobb.
sorry, I didn't mean it that way.
I know.
Dark prophet. I know.
She's using a little
Anti-white
little.
prophet. Just, I think
We know what you mean.
we know
The
what you mean.
false prophet. The false
That's
prophet.
probably the
Yeah, that's better.
So, so do you have theories on that? Or is that
I,
you're not ready to talk about that yet? That's fine too.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I think we're almost done with everything else. It's okay, we can start that. I mean, I'm worried actually, this whole marriage alliance, bride to dutiful, is a strategy by false prophet. I'm worried that dutiful is going to fall into another trap, or through him, entire farce is everything. This is another trap. And I'm also worried that uh, I mean, I don't know why those feathers are important, if they are important to bring all these elderlings, or dragons to come together, or I don't know how they are important or why. But I'm worried that Fitz forgot them in old scrolls of shade. And I'm worried that so many people from that far out islands are in the court now. I'm worried that they'll fall into wrong hands.
I'm trying to practice my poker
Yeah, I
I
was
face.
know,
going to say, you're going to have
I
to
know,
work
I'm
on your
not
poker
looking at
face
your
there,
face.
Evie.
I'm not looking at your face.
Oh, dear.
I think
But I mean, it's hard to miss. I mean, Robin Hobb doesn't put stuff like that in there for nothing. So I don't think it's a spoiler to say, well, clearly they're going to be important.
yeah,
But yeah, at this point, all you know is that they're
Mhm.
important. You have no concept. There's nothing to give you any um, idea of how or why or in what context. They're just a thing that you've had your attention drawn to. You're like, okay, I will remember where the feathers are
Mhm.
because
you know
I'm
uh,
supposed to.
uh
Did I
P,
forget? Sorry, I just saw Chatty's message. What did everybody think of Tatalia's
i'm
mini
about
wars?
I'm
Did I
about to
forget
say
that
that.
that happened?
No, no, no.
Was
In others island, when Fizz is lost in skill, somebody talked to Fizz and pulled him back from
Oh,
the
okay, and
skill.
Chad is calling that Tintaglia. Okay.
So Chatty decided that was Shintaglia.
yeah,
We
that
we
didn't
Oh,
we can
gotcha.
all discuss who is that. My
that
theory
didn't
is
feel
that,
like.
yeah, I okay. Go ahead, Pete.
No, no, you go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm thinking aloud too much. Go ahead. You were talking.
I don't think that was Tintaglia, because that sounded too nice for him to be
That's
Tintaglia.
exactly the words I was going to say. Tintaglia is not that friendly to strangers.
Initially, I thought it was She Who Remembers,
Mhm.
but either Pete or Derry who said, somebody said, She Who Remembers is already lost right now, during that dragon serpent cycle. The mini serpents or egg serpents are not yet come to this place, so She Who Remembers doesn't exist now. Somebody said that, one of you.
Mhm.
Well,
So
it's not that she doesn't exist now, but at the moment we last saw her making her cocoon in the rain in um, what used to be Kasserek. So, as far as physical being at the moment, she's in a cocoon somewhere,
okay, okay,
or
okay.
you know, at
I
So
that
think
point of her evolution.
go
I
ahead,
think
Pete.
there's so this is a look at what exactly the skill is because like I think so. Chatty's thought that it was in Tintaglia. I don't think that's far off from the essence of what it was. Like it wasn't Tintaglia because again, too
Hmm.
weird. But I wouldn't be surprised because we have, from what I can tell, it feels like the dragons are the essence of almost the union of the skill and the wit to a certain extent from what it looks like. At the very least, there are similarities into with effects that the dragons can cause, as well as the skill and the wit. Specifically, we have the dragons like charm, sense, thingamajigger. Um, so this almost feels like a hey, this is like the first dragon has transcended or something along those lines, or this is the originator, the progenitor dragon is some non-physical being now that comprises itself of the skill. Like it reminds me of a lot of like D&D mythological foundations. Like one of the ones I like called Eberron like the world is one of the dragons wrapped around one of the other dragons after
That's
said
cool.
evil dragon that is like yeah, there's the neutral dragon, the evil dragon, and the good dragon. The bad dragon slew the good dragon, and spread itself across the stars. And then the neutral dragon is like, I can't kill you, but I can trap you, and it's just like wrapped itself around. So like it reminds me of that because like those dragons, they're drops of blood made different races and some other stuff. So that's kind of just like the echoes of some of
Ooh.
those ideas that kind of
I okay.
sparked.
I have another wild theory. I mean, I'm not. It doesn't disprove your theory. That could be true, but I have another wild theory. See, there is a lot of talk about. There are a lot of hints by Hobb, like how Fool is connected to Fitz via skill.
Mhm.
Almost 4 5 times it was mentioned. Like Fool has ability to skill, or he's growing to, at least that he's getting that power or something like that. What if the false prophet already has that skill? What if that it was false prophet? But I don't think that false prophet is too nice. But I think false prophet will have the skill.
Hmm.
And I think that is wrong, as per Evie's face. She's too well.
I think that if I remember correctly, the skit wit the wit wrong series. The fool does not have the skill naturally. He only
No.
has it because of the touch from Verity.
Yeah.
Theories from chat are allowed. Please go ahead. Don't make me and Pete look like, Okay, I don't want to join, add Pete also. Don't make me look like a fool here.
Hey, looking like a fool isn't that bad.
Yeah,
And
I
also,
mean,
actually,
Hobb is
yeah.
a good enough writer that you can build a lot of hypotheses from what she's given you,
yep.
and the possibilities in Fool's Errand leave a lot of those hypotheses wide open
Hmm.
because you just haven't got enough information yet to kind of
Mm-hmm.
go, okay, that's not possible. Oh, okay, that makes that more possible. So, wild theories at this point, go for it.
And
Just let your mind go.
what do you all think about the doll they found in the other island? Beautiful and Fitz found a doll,
Oh, the
and
tiny.
Forgot
yeah,
about that. Oh god, yeah.
the doll look is an adult, but I think when Fitz looked at the bride, she looked familiar to Fitz. Do you think that doll is somehow related to the bride?
I think it's likely.
The things they found on Others Beach are good
Yeah.
to remember.
Yeah, I
That's what I'm going to tell you.
I locked it in my memory, Anita. Don't
Yeah.
forget it.
Because, I mean, you learnt that with Kennett in Live Ships, is that the things that they symbolised, they all played out. I mean, there's a scene early in Ship of Magic where Kennett breaks one of the things he finds on Other's Island, and the other spits at him and says, "What you have stolen from the sea will take back from you." And that's the leg that he ends up having to get chopped off.
What?
So,
What?
I didn't realize that.
yeah. And this is what I say, Hobb gives you so much that you can theorize wildly from books one to where you end up in the third book of a series. So
I think you just broke my brain, Derri.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
exactly how I put it at TV. I mean, she just I had my some switch on or something happened to my brain. I,
My
entire
brain
life
is
just
We
working
have
flashed
right
in my
now.
brain.
so much in these books that the slightest little thing that if you catch it and you, because anybody could have gone, oh, the prophet soothsayer being thing said that foot, you're going to, the sea is going to take it back. Later in the trilogy, you're going to be like, ha, I knew it.
Emily, there
But it's
isn't much
easy to
of
miss. And
description. There is
yeah,
sorry, there isn't much of description. Only that she's an adult. It's adult face and bare chest. I think that's all, and it is very captivating. Both of them were very captivated by it. That's all I can remember. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure you're talking about the amulet that's shaped, um, and she has a comb in her hair and one breast exposed, and it's very vividly coloured with the dark hair and the dark eyes, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Sounds familiar.
yeah.
Just
So
because we're a little over an hour and we haven't even talked about it, like the biggest part of this book, other than obviously Night Eye's death, is Dutiful being kidnapped, running off, and the
and the
whole
cat.
connection with the cat.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I do have to say, I did predict that, and I'm proud
You
of
did.
myself.
You absolutely did. And I was listening to your Voxer messages, Pete, and I was like, oh, he clocked it. Well
yeah,
done. I can't respond in any way to that because it gives
Exactly.
away that he's
Exactly.
got
I was
it.
like, Anita,
I
keep
know
your mouth shut.
yeah, that's why I didn't say anything, but I did message Derri separately,
Yeah.
and I was like, why is Pete so perceptive?
Well,
I
because
was so tempted to message you and go, very observant. But yeah. But then I also knew that you weren't too far away from the reveal, so I was like, just let him get there.
yeah, I like the more I read Hobb, the more I'm like looking out for details for these
Yeah.
things of just like, okay, what's gonna be satisfying with the foreshadowing that she might have done.
Yeah.
Right. I even like with that thing with the little tiny detail of like I'm always on the lookout for the tiny details like that leg with Kenneth of just like,
Yeah.
ooh, what could this mean? And I
Yeah.
love reading books like this. Like Sanderson is another one where I really like he has all these details. Evie, you can go throw up in a corner now, but Sanderson is
But
not
it's
as thematically
satisfying,
deep.
you know.
So, but yeah,
No, I was very impressed, Pete. Well done.
Okay.
That's
I
a great
don't-
point, Shadia. Like the kind of parallel
paralleling,
journeys.
yeah.
I don't want
But
to be
also
mean
the
or
difference, because they are dealt with so differently.
Mhm.
And even Fitz, he nails it when he says, when you remove yourself from a community, you also remove yourself from that community's support. So by pulling away from the old bloods, they don't support him through his loss of Night Eyes, but they do for Dutiful, and they help Dutiful through that grieving process. So you get that difference of you can choose to be part of it or you can choose not to.
Yeah.
But that choice has repercussions because it's Hobb and everything has repercussions. but the cat, I felt really sorry for the cat.
Yeah.
Because clearly she was just overwhelmed as a kid and had so little agency. And the sadness in Dutiful as he recognizes that he knew something was wrong and didn't know enough about his old blood to protect the cat. I thought that was endearing.
yeah,
To
and that
find that about Dutiful.
is a heartbreaking situation. Like when you're like we could compare this to real life as someone who, you know, might be friends with somebody that's in an abusive relationship and doesn't realize it until it's too late.
Yeah.
And that is oh god.
It was properly tragic, that poor little cat's life.
Yeah.
And the courage she showed at the end to go, I'm holding her off, kill me now.
Yeah, that was
I was like,
so
for
heartbreaking.
once, Fitz reacted on time.
Yeah. I mean, it took him a little while, but you're like, come on, Fitz, this is your moment. But yeah.
No, it was
She was-
heartbreaking to see
Yeah, it
Dutiful
was.
after that going to that pain. After that, when Dutiful said that I know you're related to Farsid, that's why you can skill like that. When he's saying that, I was like, yes, please tell him that you're his uncle or brothers. Go and hug him. I was screaming. So sad. Oh my god. I mean, he's so lost and alone in
He
his
is.
life. He just needs someone, a
He
companion.
does. I do want to pull it back briefly though to the cat, because the tragedy of the cat, yes, hello George, is that that's the example that you're being shown by Hobb of this is how far these Piebalds will take it. they are willing to do this to an animal, knowing how wrong it is, knowing that it goes against the oldest traditions of the old blood, and they're going to do it anyway to have political power. And the inherent selfishness and the inherent wrongness of that is in your face. It's like you cannot get away from the fact that these people are acting in a way that is not right. And I thought that was a really clever way of doing it, because she's managed to get an entire people described with this one kitten, well,
Mhm.
young cat. You know, I thought that was really well done.
Do you
Yeah.
think, I mean, Beautiful has a chance, but do you think Fitz will, with Dragon or Elderling or somebody? Okay, you both can't answer. Why am I looking at you?
I don't think Fitz is gonna bond anybody else, partially because of discourse I've heard about throughout the series. Even though, like, I will say there is remarkably little spoilers on the internet for anything beyond live ships. Like, even implied that I've seen.
Just don't look for fan art of characters, okay?
Evie.
I can't. I messaged Derri about this last night, and I'm like, I shouldn't have looked up fan art of this character. I just spoiled things for myself.
And now
I
you
And
know
I've
Fitz is
literally
gonna,
just
like,
gone, Evie, you know better.
yeah. Now you
After
know Fitz is gonna turn into a pirate and lose an eye and a leg.
Yeah,
after live
seriously, guys,
ships.
don't look stuff up.
Okay, don't look stuff up. I'll advise the same. After live ships, I went to Wiki and I searched very rigorously what happens to Althea, what happens to Kenneth's child. So I know they're ending in some way. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. But, so yes.
Not
So, yeah.
details. I don't know how they'll get there and all. Just last line of what happens to them, I know.
Yeah. So yeah, this is why we have Discords, people. And
I mean,
my
I
name's really,
needed that.
really unusual.
I
You can find me and ask me direct.
I was going crazy. I needed some closer. I was like, my brain will break.
Yeah.
On the bright side, if you have been spoiled for stuff, it makes reading the text even more, at least for me, even more appealing, because you're
You want to know
basically
how
getting
you
the
get there.
benefit of reading it, like of rereading it without actually rereading it.
Yeah.
So you can like dive a bit even deeper.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
stuff. So.
That depends on the spoiler for me. That is
True,
true
yeah.
in some cases.
Yeah. I mean, I've said that. I mean, the first reread of the Realm of the Elderlings reads like a completely new story, because with the context that you gain with each successive book adds so much to all of the ones beforehand. So the more you have read, the more context you add to the books before, and that first reread it's a brand new story, because suddenly you're seeing things that you're like, how did I miss this?
You know,
It was
Nosy.
right there.
when I
But, yeah.
started Full Surrender, just 100 pages into it, I just wanted to stop and I want to go back to Assassin's Quest and read. I wanted to reread actually entire Farsi.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I had to stop myself physically. Okay, Anita, don't do that crazy thing. You are at the end of the year. You have to finish this mini series. But I had this irresistible craving.
By the way, Pete, too soon. With the nosy comment, too soon.
Yeah, always too soon.
Yeah, always too soon.
There was a chat about you can bond with an animal or a person. I think nowadays it's too close for fish to want to bond again, but he'll continue to grow even closer to the full.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't even recall. I guess I'm gonna have to reread, because I don't remember that chat about the bond with an animal or a person.
No, I don't remember that either.
But the growing closer
doesn't
part,
say.
yeah.
I like that. Yeah,
Uh,
but that is
actually,
hinted at with Jenna's palm reading.
I
Yeah.
mean, I fully support any like fool like
Oh, I fully.
theories. So
Yeah, Yeah. But
I mean,
And
I love Fitz and I love Night Eyes, but I gotta admit, the
right, honey.
Fool is the draw for me for these books. So I love
All
the
is
Fool
fascinating,
so much.
and the more you learn about Fall, the more fascinating and almost the more mystery you find. And Fall is just incredibly well written. Love the
yeah,
Fall.
Well, Evie, if you love the Fool, you'll love Brandon Sanderson's one character that is partially based off of the Fool.
Oh
What
dear.
character is it? I swear to
uh,
God, if it's in Stormlight.
it's in Stormlight.
God damn.
I mean, technically, he's not just in Stormlight because he's everywhere.
Oh, is it that Hoyd character or
Yeah,
whatever?
it's Hoyd.
Even I know that, and I haven't read any Sanderson.
I don't know that.
Well,
I'm very,
in Stormlight,
though I read Mistborn, I'm very noob to Brandon Sanderson world.
he's remarked on it before that the Fool was one of his inspirations for Hoyd.
Oh,
It's
Well,
one of
there you
these
go.
wobs, words of Brandon.
Fair enough.
It's a thing.
Never be as good as the Fall.
Pete, to add to your comment previously, I didn't want to be mean. I think I lose the few subscribers I have for this comment. you know you said while talking about hints in or foreshadowing in Hobbs writing, you said it is similar to Brandon Sanderson writing. I don't think they are similar because as much I mean I really liked all twists and revelations in Hero of Ages. But having said that, Brandon Sanderson, sorry, I read only Mistborn. I did not read Stormlight. I did not read any other book, so I don't know. At least in Mistborn, I did not see much foreshadowing. He completely don't talk about it. That's how I felt. Hobb gave lot of hints. So there is lot to talk about the theories. Somehow in Mistborn, at least first two books, I did not see those many hints where I can draw more theories. But once I started Hero of Ages, once we are near to those revelations. That's when I started. Okay, I mean, getting those hints. Oh my God, I was excited then. Actually, not in previous
Yeah.
books.
So I will say it's been a while since I read the first three Mistborn books. So I really can't talk to that much other than I know that like the epigraphs hint at it somewhat. Stormlight does go kind of ham on crazy hints. The difference is I think Hobbs' hints are much more thematically based and they're deeper. Brandon Sanderson's tend to be more factually based or
Surface level.
tongue-in-cheek references.
Just in response to this message here from Chatty, um, this was Laurel, the huntswoman. And like anything with Hob, you have
Oh,
to consider perspective. And Laurel at this point is
She's still on the outside, right?
I'm just trying to think how much of her background you know in Fool's Errand. She's coming from a place of feeling ostracized.
yeah.
And
I We got that.
so yes, I get her point, but she's being very emotive and perhaps hyperbolic about it. This I agree with 100%. Full and Fitz and Night Eyes are absolutely a unit. Yeah. She is right, though. I mean, if Fitz had to choose between anybody and Night Eyes, basically, I think unless the other person was Molly, he would have no problem making that choice. It would be Night Eyes above anybody.
Yeah.
Um, and when you don't understand that form of closeness, you're going to be jealous of it. You're going to see that as being unnatural or wrong or
I think that that is understandable being part of outside circle, but as
Mm,
Chatty says, fool is inside the circle.
that's
Those
right.
three together as family or one unit.
Yeah,
Well,
and you
yeah,
see it when Fool returns to the cabin at the beginning, and Night Eyes is all excited, and he says, "We are complete." You know,
well,
they've come together, just the three of them, and that little circle they create is peace. That's all. They are together. They are whole in
well,
that moment.
to circle it back to Starling at the very beginning of Fool's Errand, you know, Fitz, Hap, and Night Eyes have their own
Yeah.
circle, their own bond, their own family, and Starling sees that connection is on the outside of it, and she's a
Mm.
little like she. I feel like she wants to be a part of that, but she knows that she can't.
Hmm.
No, because she doesn't see Night Eyes as a person,
Yeah,
where Fool does.
yeah,
They had that beautiful moment in Assassin's Quest where, through that bonding of skill, Fool interacts with Night Eyes the way Fitz would, and they have this glorious meeting where you have the Fool sort of go, "Wow,
yeah.
this
He's
great heart, this mighty warrior, this is Night Eyes." And Fitz talks about how it was so amazing for him to watch their pleasure in each other. Like, wow, look at this amazing
And
person.
he was also jealous.
And he was a little jealous, but also nobody else has ever met Night Eyes that way,
yeah,
only Fool. So, yes, Hap is part of their circle, but as a separate part of it, he's a
well, yeah,
cub to
yeah.
them.
I
They
meant
treat him
more as
as
a.
their
I
cub,
meant like a
but they're a
circle.
family.
Yeah, less as skill,
Yeah,
wit, whatever,
they're
but
definitely
more like
their
a
own
unit.
unit.
Yeah.
You know, they treat him as
When
parents.
in
Mm.
Fool's Errand beginning, when Fool enters with Night Eyes, run and hugs him like, now we are whole. Oh my god, that was just a
Oh, it was so
beautiful moment.
beautiful.
I was like, yes.
And you have Night Eyes gamboling like a puppy. And I was like, oh, it is my puppy. Such a good moment. Such a good moment.
As an aside, I constantly call my dog a puppy, and my
Yeah.
husband's like, he's almost 7. He's not a puppy, and I'm like, he will be
Always
an
be my puppy.
old boy, and he will
Yeah.
still be a puppy. He's my
Yeah.
puppy. Night Eyes is my puppy. He's everyone's puppy.
Night Eyes is the best.
I love him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do
when
you
you
guys
consider
have
that this is a
anything to add?
16-book series, Night Eyes has already made a huge impact, and he remains part of the story because he's such a fundamental part of Fitz. The whole story.
Yeah.
That's
We're
pretty
not even
amazing.
halfway through. Already lost Night Eyes.
But only the physical. We've only lost the in the moment Night Eyes.
Oh, so we're gonna get ghost Night Eyes now, just like haunting Fitz.
Night Eyes,
It's gonna be
in
like
the same way that my
four.
mum is in my mind at judging me, even though she's gone. Night
No,
Eyes is in Fitz's head
it's gonna
judging
be like
me.
a force ghost, like
Uh,
coming out of the flames of the Jedi temple.
Pete, the way one character is there in Mistborn, you know, other.
Yes.
So it's
Yes. Well, yes.
Night
I,
Eyes is always, you always know that Night Eyes is part of the story, even
yeah,
if he's not there.
that was my favorite character in Mistborn. That's why I loved it. You know, being that part of the story.
Mm.
You know, thinking.
So yes, but what were we talking about before that when we came back to that?
I think
That is
Anita was
Darling
trying to wrap this
unit.
up.
Okay, I want to talk about one thing which is maybe arguably one of my favorite scenes in this book. Fitz going to look upon Nettle and watching Molly and Barrick from far, and his thought process, him realizing, if he goes, he brings only misery and destruction.
Yeah.
At the
Mhm.
same time, he's hurt, he is bitter, he acknowledging those feelings,
Mm.
and at the same time, choosing to stay far. Oh my god, no one has executed that scene
That
So
was heartbreaking because you feel Fitz's heart
yeah,
break in the moment where he said, the hardest thing I've ever done is not go down there and help Burke with the chores. It's like,
yeah.
oh,
My
Fitz.
I mean,
Because,
I have seen this similar
yeah.
trope in so many movies in my
Mm,
first language, in 90s movies and all, where either the first husband or first wife who thought they all she's or he are dead, and they came back and watch,
come
realizing that
apart.
the person is settled something. But there was always something lacking in the way they
Mm.
reacted. None of them executed this perfect. Hobb executed so perfect. Every feeling is felt. Oh my god. I
But
mean,
this is the
I
thing,
was,
is Fitz loves them both.
yeah.
You know, it's not just that it's Molly, his heart, that he's loved for his whole life. This is also Burke, who has saved his life multiple times and who was there for him and who supported him and all of those things. He loves them
And
both.
Nettle has a good home
And Nettle
with
is loved by them
yeah,
both.
exactly.
Yep.
Oh my
But the
god,
heartbreak of that. Oh,
that was just beautiful. One of my favorite scenes ever, actually. I
mm,
just fell in love with the Hobb again with that scene.
yeah. Because she cast that scene so expertly with only a couple of sentences, but it felt like he was looking in at a home. She very much created the fact that Molly and Burke had made a home and had a routine together and had comfort together, and Fitz is outside it, and it's the Alan looking through the raining window thing, you know. He's like, I want to be part of it, and he can't. And she just did it so succinctly in just those few sentences.
And
And
at the
oh
same time, she doesn't make Fitz looking like this sacrificial, sentimental character. She
no,
addressed
it
him
feels real.
feeling bitter and, all that. That was just
Yeah,
being so true.
yeah, it's
Okay,
exceptionally well done.
I'll stop being now all crazy and moany.
No, it's a fantastic scene. Like you're right.
Okay,
I haven't seen it written or watched it like written
yeah.
better in any other thing.
Mm.
Anita, do you think that despite Fitz wanting not to ruin this idyllic home life that they have, you,
Yes.
you think it's going to get ruined?
I mean, not exactly ruined for everyone. I mean, if Hobb wants to take that far, maybe she'll ruin entire family, all other five sons too. I don't know about that, but definitely Nettle will be pulled into Farsi politics. That's for
Mhm.
sure.
I personally think that Burke is going to realize that Fitz is alive, but he's not going to tell Molly because Fitz is going to ask him not to. Because I think it's almost inevitable that Nettle gets drawn into it, and then after that happens, Burke is going to come visit Nettle at some point while Molly stays at the farm, and then that's when all that's going to go down. Personal theory.
Yeah, there are in Greg's Discord, for a couple of people had some theory, but I don't agree with that. They say, at the end, Che tells Fitz that they have to send someone young to spy on Lady Bressinga's house. They think that someone young and who is loyal to this house, they think that is Nettle, but I think that he's telling about someone to send to Lady Bressinga's
Mm.
house. That's not Nettle, but Nettle was somehow in other way be pulled. That's why I think. I mean,
There
she'll
is no
have
way in hell that Burke would let that happen.
Oh, of
exactly.
course.
It's just not. I mean,
Also,
no.
okay, yeah,
But
and
Shade is absolutely going to send a spy because he's learned that, well, crap, I've got a hole in my network that I didn't see this coming. So
yeah,
definitely need to put somebody there. There's definitely
yeah.
a weakness. So,
Uh, in some in during the, what do you call that, quest or hunt for dutiful, the journey,
yeah.
during that time, at some point, Fizz skill dreams with someone who is very content. Who do you think it was? Is it Nettle or somebody else?
Ooh.
Wait, which scene? are you referring to?
During that journey,
You
Fitz.
can't respond to it, Evie.
Huh?
No,
Poker face.
I'm just trying to remember what scene. Sorry.
Yeah. During that journey, one night, Fitz still dreams. Someone sleeping. In the background, two people were talking, like, let her sleep or let that person sleep. This person is happy and content, feel safe and sleep. That's how Fitz falls asleep that night. Later, he
Oh,
talks with the Night Eyes too. Night Eyes says, I'm glad you found someone like that.
gotcha. Okay, yeah.
I
I
think it was.
Initially, I thought it was Nettle, but later, what happened with other Sila, and do you think it's the same person?
Could be one of the other 5 kids, because Burrick has the wit at the very least, so that could have allowed that kind of to slip in.
But that is Skill Dream.
I think we've been talking, or the book has been talking about how they're very wibbly wobbly a little bit in this book, a little bit like they all get very
poor Nina.
I'm sorry. Looking at Derry's face, I can't stop laughing.
I'm like, okay, keep talking.
Yeah.
Off camera, Derry's doing this of like, don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't
don't
touch me.
respond. Don't respond. Don't respond. Yeah, it's Hobb. There are always threads that you can pick up, and some of those threads that you pick up are important. Some of those threads are relevant. Some of those threads are going to come back, and some of them are worthy of notice. But then it's watching people weaving those threads together and putting them together in ways that aren't quite what they need to be, or are bang on what they need to be, or have combined a couple of things that are going to happen but separately. And you're like, you've picked up the right threads. I can't tell you where they're going, but you've noticed the ones that are supposed to stand out. And
So
yeah.
to echo something that Derri and I talked about previously in a video discussion, is that with all these theories and threads, as you put it, Derri, it is fun to speculate and see what's going to happen, or speculate on what's going to happen. But the thing that I love about Robin Hobb's storytelling and writing is that even though there is very much intentionality in a lot of what she's writing in these scenes, the scenes themselves are so beautifully written individually for themselves and important in those moments, in that moment, as opposed to just there to serve the wider plot. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, none of those threads, as I call them, are put there just to be a thread to lead to something else.
Yeah.
They were already there. That nothing has been placed into that scene just to get to the next one or to tie into something later. Yeah. Everything already existed. And that's something, again, that first reread shows you that the picture was entire the whole time. Everything was there from the very beginning. And so none of the threads start at any of these things. They were always there. They come to your attention because they've been brought forward, but they were always there. So when I say, yes, you're picking up the right threads, is that she's drawn your attention to the right things, but because as yet you only see this much of the tapestry instead of the whole thing, it's difficult to put them into context. So it's like, yes, you've picked up that that's going to be important, but figuring out how they're going to intertwine, I can't tell you how close or far you are from where you think it's going to go, because that would A, be really rude and spoil things, and B, it's intriguing to let you find that for yourself. You get the joy of following that thread and thinking, oh, no, I had that completely wrong, or, oh, it's getting close to what I think it's going to be.
You're always at room temperature, basically. Like,
yeah.
No getting hotter, no getting colder.
Yeah, it's just all of those things are relevant and they're all important. And even if you think that, oh, I picked up this thread and I thought it was really important, it might not be for another 6 books.
To to answer Emily, it is in Fool's Errand.
I'm
That's one
about
of
to
the
say that.
that's one of the passages that I marked is
Yeah.
History is no more fixed and dead than the future. The past is no further away than the last breath you took. Which is going back to Night Eyes even more like, ugh.
Yeah.
Freaking
Absolutely.
Night Eyes.
It was just beautiful, that epilogue. I read it twice actually.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this earlier in the week, Evie, about the difference between facts and truth. And even in Fool's Errand, you'll have started to see this, where Fitz looks back on things that happened in Farseer, and because he's older and because he has more context, things that he thought were truth about his youth turns out to just be some facts about his youth. Because with more information, it changes the perspective on those facts and turns that situation into something different. He reacted to the facts at the time in a way that he thought was appropriate. With more context, he can look at those same facts and see something different and know he perhaps should have responded differently. So history is facts. It's not necessarily the truth of the situation. And that's a really strong thing throughout, is the fact of a situation is not the whole story.
It's just somebody's perception.
Yeah, it's just what you say. And even if your perception is being factual, like your perception is correct, it's still only part of the picture. And only with greater context can you see it in greater light. We all have this as individuals as we get older. Things that we thought we were so passionate about when we were younger, and our parents would say, you'll learn. And we were like, no, I know what I'm talking about. And then you get older and you're like, okay, yeah, I learned.
And
We weren't wrong. We just didn't have context. So, it's history is like that. It's a bunch of facts, but without context, it's not truth.
yeah.
So,
And in growing at the same time, our priorities change and we don't give importance to the same things.
that's right.
So some things we don't care about. Okay, let it happen. Okay, it happened. And other things we give more importance.
Yep. Absolutely. And later you realize I should have paid more attention to that. I should have invested more into that situation because that was actually more important. But you don't see it at the time. So
Hindsight is always 20/20.
it is. And doubly so the older you get. It's a rare thing to have a series of books that follow a character as long as we get to do with Fitz. Even though at Fool's Errand we're only into the halfway point of his story, we're still getting a half a lifetime. Not a lot of books are able to give you that sort of breadth of experience. So you don't often get a chance to reminisce with a character and have them question their own choices and have them go back and have moments of epiphany for themselves and go, it's a pleasure.
I will plug another amazing series that does that also. The Long Price Quartet.
That's what I was thinking too.
Long Price Quartet does this really well and in much less
You
of a
beat
page count.
me to the, oh my god. Everyone please read that. Evie, I think you should give it another chance. I mean, just till if you read till Betrayal in Winter, I think you'll really start appreciating that. I think somehow you will like that series. That's how I feel.
Okay.
I did like of what I read of the first book. I liked the concept of it. It was just the wrong book at the wrong time for me. There was nothing I was actively disliking about it. It was just,
You weren't vibing. It happens.
Long Face Quartet. Oh my god. I mean, that is just so close to my heart.
Okay. Well, when I read that one, you can be the expert and I can be the newbie.
Yeah, just ping me, talk to me any day.
I'll probably reread it with you because,
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's only like 1,200 pages, as Alan says.
Yeah,
So
all four
A
books
lot.
together.
Funny.
it's good.
But yeah.
Another one is that does it, I would say, in a somewhat different, in a more like it has more focus on the historical perspective of things, I would say, in a cryptic way, is the Dandelion Dynasty, because book one, Grace of Kings, gives you a very mythic foundation for society, and then books 2 through 4 kind of give you what happens after that
Okay.
and what those characters do and what some of these characters long term, what's like, even like there's like random characters that died in Grace of Kings that had an effect on the actions of a character at, in the fourth book, and this is many years later, and it's
Mm,
really dives into the effects of some of these things on people throughout history.
yeah. And it takes skill as an author to do that
Yeah.
convincingly. And Hobb is the only example I've read that does that in any convincing way. So, yeah, it's it's a journey, that's for sure. Because
Mhm.
nobody's life is simple, and Fitz is less simple than most. So, um, yes. So obviously I can't respond to this, but what are your thoughts for the Golden Fall? I mean, where do you think the story's going to go from here?
Okay. I I see two main plot points actually. One is I think we get to see um, more of politics with the Out Islanders, because there almost many people are here in the court, and obviously title Golden Fool means, we'll get to know something about how those feathers come into picture, what is related to that crown, and how it ties up with this overall elderling story. Those two major plot points, I think there will be focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think for certain we're going to meet the false prophet. And that's going to be set up. I think there's going to be some parallels between this and Farseer. Like, for instance, Regal becomes a real nuisance in Royal Assassins,
Yes.
to put it understatingly.
Yeah,
Um,
The false prophet is a woman, right? That's
yes,
what
she
Fool
is.
told, right?
Hmm.
What
the
if
pale
that
woman. Mm.
what if that person has a child? And what if that bride is that child?
That's an excellent theory, and I like it.
Well, I look forward to hearing your thoughts as you go into the Golden Fall, because yeah, I will be interested in your thoughts. Anything more would be to give stuff away. So I certainly am done, I think, in talking about the big, huge plot point. Actually, no, I'm lying. What did we think of the way Full got them out of the Brazingers' um, company? That allowed them to leave.
Oof.
I loved it.
Mm.
But I mean, that's with context of the wider trilogy. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, Pete and Anita.
I
I don't.
appreciated that he was regretful of his actions. Like,
I mean, that question makes me think: does it have any long-term effect? I did not. I thought it was a very short-term plan to escape from that place fast. But now your question is making me think.
More about the fact that it's Full behaving this way, just how that affects your view of the Full. if it even does. I don't know. But it's a moment of behaviour from Fall that it took me a little bit by surprise the first time I read it. I didn't
Well,
expect him to sort of go that way.
well, I mean, it is not he's he's performing as
Mhm.
Lord Golden.
Yeah,
So
that's
I took his actions much like any actions where he's not like in private with Fitz. Like I took his actions as part of this I wouldn't even say facade, but like this role and this character of Lord Golden. Um and he's using this role to to achieve things that he might not have been, just the way that he was able to use the character of the fool as the jester in the Farseer to be able to kind of achieve what he needed to and then push things where he needed. If that makes sense. I say if that makes sense a lot. But
You do make sense. That's all good.
I reacted the same way Fizz reacted. I mean, maybe not exactly. Fizz dismissed as him as fool. I just merely thought he used Lord Golden's role or his attitude to behave that way, and escape from that place. I really did not think it will have some. It will hint at something long term. Now your question jerked me from that.
It'll be interesting to see if there's more um,
Okay, yeah.
implications for the future.
implications.
It's
Implications.
the way that Fall reacted to it. Like he felt soiled, and or they felt soiled by acting um, overtly. There was something. It was almost like
Oh, I get what
being
you are saying.
physical in any way kind of made them feel. And yeah,
Yeah.
I found it intriguing.
Well, I mean, even up to that point, um, the fool, he
I
like,
mean, Fall avoids touched for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
That's where I was
and
going with that.
until that
So,
point, I'd always felt it was about privacy. It was about agency and boundaries. But that was the moment where you realise that it actually Fall isn't just uncomfortable. Like it actually kind of grossed them out.
Mhm.
I
it's
think
it's
it's
almost
twofold. Go ahead, Evie.
physical thing. I was just gonna say it's
Mm,
almost a physical thing. Like for myself, like unless I'm comfortable with you,
mm,
physical touch from someone, like, and I still am like I feel so bad about this. Like one of my coworkers, he was visiting and he just came up and he put his arms on my shoulders, and I'm comfortable with this coworker, but like I'm not physically comfortable with the coworker, and I
yeah,
literally just screamed out, and this is we were in when we were in the office, and I'm like, don't touch me, that makes me uncomfortable. And I
yeah.
did not expect that at all. Like I did not expect that reaction from myself. Like, and it made me realize that unless I'm really comfortable with you, physical touch feels physically painful, like, and
Mm,
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So, and that's how I perceived and understood
mm,
the fool's um, hesitancy
mm,
with physical interaction with people.
To add to Evie's point, actually, Evie, I think we all had that. Not just fool and being women, we were taught to be, extra careful about that. So,
Mhm.
I understand why you reacted that way.
mm,
Okay, to add to that point with respect to fool, I think it is twofold here. More than that, he also is in love with Fizz. He realized that he doesn't want to. Uh, it's just my wishful thinking. He doesn't want to touch that way, anyone other than Fitz. It could be that.
yeah. It just gave me further
But
insight into Fall. That was
but
all.
I mean, just speaking of up to Fool's Errand, like I never perceived the Fool's love for Fitz as a physical
No.
love. Like you can have there are different types of love, and romantic doesn't necessarily always mean. Oop,
Uh,
sorry, was
in
that me?
Farsir, I exactly felt that way. I never thought it was beyond anything emotional.
Mm.
But in live ships, when Amber shaped Paragon's face as Fitz and told him that he's someone I love, that's when I started, feeling that it's more than that.
Well,
I don't know
yeah,
why.
no, I still agree. I
Yeah.
still like think that the Fool absolutely like.
But there
I
can
feel
be
like
a purity to love that isn't in any way
physical.
physical.
Like,
Yeah.
And Full makes the point in Assassin's Quest. Love is more than plumbing. You know, you don't love Molly for what's between her legs. You love her because she's Molly.
Yeah.
And Full always holds true to that, really, in that
yeah,
you
I
love
feel
the
like
person, you don't love their body so much.
yeah,
And
I feel like Fool's love
I hadn't
for
realised how averse to touch Full was until that scene where you get him feeling with it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's
I think
a
I
boundary
think
for him that's more than just
I think
privacy.
it may be, I mean, I could be wrong, you know better, but I think it's more than the touch. It's also about the way he behaved, the
Mm,
way he took advantage of that person.
yeah,
I think it's also that.
mm, yeah. I just think it's a moment that we learn quite a lot about Full in themselves. Um, so yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that up because I think
Okay,
it's important.
I think
So
we pretty much covered everything. Do
yeah,
you have anything
but I
to
feel
add?
like we also at the same time didn't cover enough. There's so
yeah.
much
There's so
around in
much
all the
in Full
books.
Errand.
We
There
did
is.
not talk about Ketrikan. I think there isn't much about Ketrikan in this book,
Yeah, I mean,
but
she wasn't in it much, so
yeah,
you know. But
I'm sure there'll be more Katrikin in the next one.
yeah. But but we can still see her upbringing in Dutiful, actually, the way she prepared him, to be sacrificed to his people.
oh yeah, she's. I mean, you see that in Dutiful that she's clearly imbued that sense of sacrifice, of honor, of duty, and that he has been spending time in the Mountain Kingdom with his grandfather. So you know that clearly comes out in his character, which I think is kind of awesome. But yeah.
I hope we'll see her more in Golden Fool, and I need to watch your video about Ketrikan.
I mean, I don't want to say yes, you definitely should because I'm biased because I'm in the video, but
and you know it's on my channel, so. But yeah, I mean, I think it's worth watching. So, but I think all discussions about Hobb are worth watching. So
We always take something we did not think, or we did not, give it much thought.
yeah, I mean, we had that today, however unintentionally with live ships. So there's always something. There's always something. But
We need. Do we get any more background how or who are those people? Who are those creatures on other island?
you know, I'm not going to answer that.
No, just do we get or not?
It's like, why are you asking these questions?
I have so many theories. Confirm them now.
Yeah,
I have to try so hard.
I need to
Seriously,
know.
I sit at home and I'm like, oh, they're so far off, but I can't tell them, and I can't stop them thinking this. But if they keep thinking this, they're going to be so shitty when they get to the bit that proves them wrong. And yeah, and
Harry, you gotta let us make our bed, and you gotta let us
yeah,
lie.
I'm learning
No.
to, because that's the thing. But I feel bad when people take themselves down a path, and you're like, please don't go there. You're going to be so upset. When I could have just tweaked them away from it at the beginning and gone, don't go there. And they could have found a different theory path to go down that didn't upset them.
This is a dark path. Don't go there.
Yeah, so I have to restrain myself a lot because
I
it's easy
mean,
to emphasize about Hob.
I know for me personally with theories, like I think the joy for me is creating the theory, and yes,
Yeah,
there's a lot of joy when the theory is proven right.
yeah,
There's really not that much like sadness for the most part, most of the time when it's proven wrong. Because I think I've gotten better about not making theories as expectations, if that makes any
yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
No, it does make sense,
I
and I
had
think that's
most
part of
fun
it.
with that in Hero of Ages, surprisingly. I mean, when I was like, is this going to happen? Oh my god, will this happen? And that happened. Oh my god.
Yeah, the downside to that is this going to happen? Everything's saying it might happen. It might happen.
And
Oh,
then
it's not going to happen. But it was supposed to happen, and you're like, it kind of never was. You were reading into that, and
I feel
mm,
like with a good author, if you have a theory based on things that you think they foreshadowed and it turns out to be completely wrong, good authors like Hobb and Sanderson in this case, you can go back and you
yeah,
can
oh
find
yes,
and you can see that
you
you
can
can
see the
actually
moment you went wrong.
yeah, exactly. And
Actually,
you can see how
sometimes
the other things were set up. And
Yeah,
it's
sometimes
great.
actually even those moments bring us joy, even when we are wrong. Oh
Hmm.
my
yeah,
god, I did not see this happening. Oh my god, this is so good.
yeah. So, but and those are fun because I'm like, oh, they're getting it right, they're getting it right, and I can't go. Yeah, you're right. For you to enjoy the build up to your own conclusion, and oh,
yeah,
I enjoy
I,
it a lot, but it stresses me out.
yeah. There are no red herrings with Hob. It's just
No, it's
where they
interpretation
yeah.
and where the threads are actually going,
Hmm.
and yeah,
Actually, at this point of time, Golden Fool can go anywhere. There are multiple threads. I mean, I cannot guarantee says, okay, this is for sure will happen. I
mm.
cannot.
And that's the lovely thing with Hobbes. She does take you in unexpected directions, and you quite often end up in a position where you're like, I had no clue we were going to end up here.
And look
Okay,
at the title. I always thought Fool's Errand means Fool's Errand, Fool's
yeah,
Mission. But
yeah,
no, this is just not Fool the Fool's Errand. This is just a stupid errand. I don't know if I made sense.
Wordplay. It's the greatest thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. So, but yes, but
Uh,
with that
uh,
question, I think I'm done.
right means
Yeah.
Mm,
not today, in November, maybe
Yes.
second
Which
week
is
or
in
first
two
week.
days. So
It's true.
November's in 2 days, Anita.
yeah,
I,
well, it's
I mean,
tomorrow for me, so
Yeah.
really not far away
Happy
at all.
Halloween, Derry, since you're in the
Yes, thank you.
future.
I need to finish the current book company, and
Hmm.
then and Augustus, then Golden Fool.
You will
So,
finally make Ellen proud and happy by finishing
Yes,
the company.
Hmm.
hopefully.
yeah, everybody has to make up some ground after the last month Alan's had. So, yes,
Yes.
we'll have to get back in his good books.
Yeah. I got a few books before Golden Fool. It may not be until the latter half, I think, because
Oh,
Company, Infernal Battalion. I have a list somewhere. Lost Metal is probably going to come before it, depending on how my reading schedule is going. But
Generally, I plan to read closer to the live show, but I mean, I'm participating in a readathon. There, we have to read in steps of those prompts. So, Golden Fool fits second step, all prompts. So, I need to read it soon. So,
yeah,
with one book, I'll cover like four prompts. I'll get all those
nice.
points.
Well done.
are you planning on reading Infernal Battalion anytime soon, Anitha? Because
Um,
you finished Guns of Empire, right?
yeah, yeah. I want to read Infernal Battalion, maybe third week
Okay,
towards.
I might keep that then for then.
Yes, we can discuss,
Because
theories, after that cliffhanger of, oh, I
I'm
need to talk about.
expecting to be disappointed.
Okay. we'll end the broadcast here. Once upon a read. No, Emily, I am Team Witch. Witches. I mean, uh, it was a hard decision between fairy godmothers and witches because I have friends in both the teams. Finally, decided to go with Team Witches.
Sounds like a
Okay,
good choice.
if we are done with Fools Around, let's end the broadcast.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Of
very
course,
much as
I'm
always.
very glad that you agreed and joined me and shared your insights. I'm always grateful to you, and thank you everyone for coming here and
Yeah.
giving your thoughts. We'll be here at the end of November to discuss Golden Fool. Please join us.
Is this my formal invitation to join the Golden Fool live show too?
Always, always.
Yeah. Yes. People actually want to include me and stuff. Yay!
Oh, Evie. Yes.
Anyway,
It'll be
Okay,
great.
thank you everyone. Bye. Have a nice rest of your day and happy Halloween, everyone. Bye. If you have
Bye.
creative, what do you call, costumes, please post pics of those in Discord. Thank you for joining. Bye bye.
Bye.